But first, here's Tony with the all-new Eagle Talon TSI.
Shopping for an affordable, high-performance sports car recently, you'll have found that the selection has dwindled almost to nothing. In a world of $40,000 300ZXs, $36,000 RX-7s, and even the once thrifty MR2 drifting beyond $25,000, there seems to be little around for the bargain hunter, especially if performance is a requirement. But some relief is at hand from an unusual source, the Jeep Eagle division of Chrysler. The Talon, as Eagle has dubbed its new Sportster, is already being hailed as one of the sports car bargains of the decade. But first, some background on the Talon's origins. It's a product of Diamond Star Motors, a company formed jointly by Chrysler and Mitsubishi. Exterior styling is by Chrysler, and engineering is handled by Mitsubishi. The cars are built at the Diamond Star plant in Illinois, and other versions will be sold by various Chrysler divisions. It's a stunning-looking car, and Chrysler's brighter designers seem to have been let loose on it without too much interference. The result is a sleek sports coupe that looks as good as any competitor. On the other hand, I wasn't wild about our test car's black roof treatment. Regulation wear on cars in this class are all the usual spoilers, air dams and side skirts, and the Talon has all of them. With our speed limits, these features are really cosmetic, but I'm not going to spoil the fun by saying the car would be better off without them. Our test Talon was, as the saying goes, loaded to the gills, and even had a compact disc player. More important was the fact that it was a four-wheel drive turbo version, with twin cams and 16 valves in its 2-litre engine. In this form, the car will cost you about $25,000, but more basic cars are much cheaper. In case you forget the engine specs, they're written on the side of the car for all to see. If I bought a Talon, I'd be peeling these decals off as soon as I got home. Performance is exceptionally good, and the 195 horsepower power plant will get you up to 100 kilometers per hour in about 7.5 seconds. Suspension is fully independent, using a double wishbone system like many race cars. Four-wheel drive Talons have a modified rear suspension that includes a self-aligning mechanism. This constantly maintains the wheels in orientation with the direction of travel, against forces created during braking and turning, as well as on bumpy road surfaces. Our test car was fitted with a 5-speed gearbox, and that's the only way you can buy it. It had a very clunky shifter and didn't inspire any confidence at all. I didn't like the F16 style shift knob either. Interior treatment is all you'd expect from a car in this class. Instrumentation is lavish and well planned, and there's a nicely individualistic look to the dashboard. Now, I couldn't make up my mind whether or not I like the strange elephant hide dash covering, but I suppose it's better than shiny finishes. Seating is supportive and attractive, and there's lots of headroom for front passengers. Rear seat room is as cramped as it is in most rival coupes. There's a useful console bin with a removable drinks tray, but stowage is otherwise only adequate, and there are no map pockets in the doors. Our test car came with leather facings on the front seats and vinyl at the back. I'd just as soon have a nice cloth trim throughout the interior and not bother with this cost-cutting mishmash. It seems everyone these days is trying to woo younger, college-educated, affluent people with stylish coupes, and this is where Chrysler may hit trouble. We seem to be reaching a stage where there are almost too many models to choose from in this category, and confusion may be the result. Basic Talons, which have front-wheel drive, will take on the Honda Prelude, Nissan 240SX, Ford Probe and Toyota Celica, all excellent cars. All-wheel drive Talons will compete with the Toyota Celica and Subaru XT6 four-wheel drive coupes, and even the BMW 325iX and the Audi 9 Quattro. Talon is far cheaper than any of these except the Subaru, and should just something new to Chrysler's Eagle division: traffic at the dealerships. Can a car with so many features be so cheap, Ted?
It would appear so. I do like this car. There are a couple of things I don't like. It has the usual problem of very poor visibility out the back. Stowage inside is almost negligible, and I couldn't agree more about that shift linkage. It's terrible. But this is a good package. I mean, the car goes like hell, corners well, and really I think it's the best product that either one of these two companies have come out with.
I think so. It looks wonderful. It's good inside. In most respects, the gear shift is as bad as anything I've driven in quite a few years.
Oh, yeah. It's funny how they would...
terrible?
Yeah, it's funny how they would have an oversight in an otherwise well-designed car. Incidentally, that engine output, 195, I have heard that on the dyno, that thing is actually more like about 205.
Well, it wouldn't surprise me, and to get that much horsepower for that price is phenomenal, really, because, I mean, you've got four-wheel drive. I mean, we talk often about the Mustang being a really cheap way to get 225 horsepower. Here's a car with four-wheel drive and all kinds of other bells and whistles for a darn near similar price.
I have to admit, you know, when I first drove this thing, I thought to myself, oh, you know, ho-hum, here we go, another Chrysler product. This is going to be terrible. But I was amazed at the power of this car. It just seemed to go on and on and on. I don't think I ever really tapped it out, you know. It just went on and on and on.
And it also handles beautifully.
Yeah.
But it's interesting to see what this will do to the Eagle dealerships. But I don't think they've been too congested since the Eagle division was formed.
That's an interesting point. Now, do you think the Eagle salesman can sell this car? They couldn't sell the Premier, which is a fine car in its own way. So can they sell this one?
Well, one would hope so. I think, as I mentioned, that the big problem with this car is the market is very crowded in that sector, and people will go out and they'll say to themselves, shall I buy a Prelude or a Celica? And they'll forget this one.
Yeah.
And they should remember this is a car well worth looking at in that sector.
One point that's interesting to bring up, this car was entered in an enduro race in eastern Canada at Shannonville, I believe, or no, maybe Moorsport.
Right.
Anyway, 24-hour, it won its class.
Right.
So it's obviously made well.
And it was pretty well a stock car, I believe. They didn't do very much to it at all, and it was there was some pretty heavyweight machinery in that class.
We should also point out that you can get this car with all-wheel drive or two-wheel drive, and you can get it with turbocharger or non.
Right, you can buy a basic car, and let's face it, the styling of the body is beautiful. I mean, if you just want a car to tootle around town in and the occasional long trip in, it's great. You don't really need all that stuff like the four-wheel drive and the turbo and so forth. You'll have as much fun with a basic car.
Yeah, and I also think that the problems that we mentioned are startup problems, and I see them rectifying that next time around. Yeah.
Okay, some of the things we didn't like about this car, the side graphics, a little thing, but we didn't like it anyway. Clunky shifter, very, very bad point, and the stowage was less than one could expect in a car like this. On the other hand, the styling was outstanding, performance outstanding again, cockpit layout just about as good as you can get.
And we'll be right back.